Former ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule is in the political wilderness after being kicked out of the party. Now, he was found guilty of contravening several ANC constitutional rules, including by attempting to suspend party president Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, Magashule was given 7 days to explain why he should not be expelled, but failed to do so. To reflect on this, I'm joined now by political analyst Susan Booysen via Zoom. A very good morning, Professor. Let's start just right there. Obviously, a lot of people questioning where to now for the disgraced Ace Magashule. How would you respond?
Well, to start with, we know that he will apparently be giving more clarity on the way forward for himself next week. But organizationally, I think it's the end of an era in which ANC has suffered from a type of organizational guerrilla warfare conducted by Ace Magashule and others around him, period in which he narrowly did not take control his faction of the ANC, but still when he ascended into Luthuli House as Secretary-General, and really helped a lot in the decline in recent years of the ANC. And from that point on, where he has no clear alternative, it is pretty certain, though, that we don't see a rosy political future with great political positions, etc., ahead for him. So he would have to negotiate his way out of this morass. And I really don't think there are too many prospects for him from this point on. New political parties split off from the ANC have in some cases gained a bit of traction. We can think years back of UDM, and it still survives. COPE only just survives. EFF, different kettle of fish, and increasingly close to the ANC in this conjuncture. But there is hardly space for new political initiatives, and Ace Magashule is not a type of leader that inspires great ideological coherence or ideological positioning even. And so he, as a political leader, he has not really impressed. As a factional leader, as a Free State leader, he could really entrench himself in deep systems of patronage. But there is no clear political future cut out for him.
And of course, Professor, that coherence you speak of, I mean, this is one man who at one stage during the Zuma presidency wielded a lot of influence within the Free State province and Free State politically speaking, right? But all of that, I've seen that it has waned in terms of the level of support that he has received. And I imagine if he were to consider, joining, I'm hearing other people saying he might join the ATM or perhaps start his own political party, there wouldn't necessarily be a bright future in any of those paths, would there?
No, absolutely not. We know the ATM is also one of those small parties that has barely just survived. We see recently it lost its leader to Mzwanele Manye to the EFF. And so it has a small voice in parliament, but not because of a great political presence in society. And new political parties really, we have an abundance of small new political parties with greater imagination behind them than whatever Ace Magashule could bring to the table. He has not been positioning in terms of an alternative to the ANC. His aim has been solely at making the ANC his type of ANC, and that type of ANC would have been even worse off and even much weaker than we see at present under Cyril Ramaphosa and the substitute successive generation of leaders that have come into power in the ANC end of last year.
And of course, Professor, when we speak about the step-aside rule, it has in itself divided the party even further. And now the expulsion of Ace Magashule, I imagine, sets a precedent, if you will, moving forward for what needs to happen to members of the party who find themselves in not so bright light. What do you make of this expulsion? What does it spell for the party moving forward? We've got elections coming up in a few months. Just the trajectory of the party within its own, how would you spell that out for us?
Yeah, I really think the ANC needs this kind of expulsion and needs this particular expulsion as well. It is under great criticism, and rightly so, I think, for acting very slowly on leaders that have been asked to step aside, and is a small handful of potential targets of step aside that have actually been brought to the point of stepping aside. The ANC has not shown itself as being strong in enforcing that rule at all. And in this era where there are great questions as to what extent the ANC is renewable, is in fact busy renewing itself, I'm sure this case of the expulsion of Ace Magashule will be presented as a small step or a significant step as far as the ANC narratives goes, in line with transforming and reforming the ANC. But we know that so much more is needed on that. And a drawback of this current expulsion is that it is absolutely for challenging Cyril Ramaphosa in the sense of unilaterally suspending him, going against all ANC rules, of course, unilaterally suspending him and then refusing to apologize when ordered by the party to do so. His expulsion, and that would have been essential for an argument of renewal of the ANC, his expulsion is not related to corruption and criminality and malgovernance, especially in the province of the Free State. And we know that there's a proclamation out that SIU will be starting new investigations. I think those are really essential. And perhaps this general expulsion of Magashule for these anti-Ramaphosa reasons can also help promote the investigations. There are so many issues in the Free State that absolutely need those investigations.
Right.
We also know that the ANC really needs to prove with the SIU that it can make successful prosecutions.
Political analyst Susan Booysen, thank you so much for your time this morning and just giving us a clarity in things that you need to question, think and act on in as far as the expulsion of Ace Magashule. Susan Booysen has just painted a very clear picture. What are some of the issues that you'd need to consider? Because if he were to upset or destabilize the objectives of the ANC in Parliament, he would need a seat in Parliament. How would he get there? That is a big question.